your peer group, who it is that you surround yourself with. And you can have some really good mates and they really hold you up and hold you to a much, much higher standard, or you have the mates that drag you down, that say, you're getting boring, why are you studying that, why are you trying to get ahead? Do you think you're better than me or something? All of these type of things. Now, maybe they don't mean to drag you down, but they're doing it. Okay, so sometimes you need to have a look at that. What else? The media. Big one, huge one. If you think you've escaped your family, you've escaped your friends, and you've escaped the schooling system, if you think they haven't had an influence on you, you're wrong. But if that's not the case, the media will get you. And the reason they will get you is because when you read those newspapers, well, it's not too bad because it's all negative, etc. And we all know that they do that in order to sell newspapers and all this type of stuff. But at least you're just using one modality, it's called. You're using your eyes. It's it's visual. You're using your eyes. When you're listening to the radio, no matter how negative that news might be, it's still just one modality, auditory. This time I got it right. Now, in terms of watching a film or watching something on television, it's very different, isn't it? Because there, how many of your senses or modalities are you using? You might think two. You're watching the television program or film and you're listening to it. But let me ask you a question. How many of you have ever cried during a film? Guys, are you going to admit that you've actually cried? Now, why did you cry? Because you know it's just an actor. And the reason is because your unconscious doesn't know the difference between the two. It just doesn't know the difference. So you start crying, you start reacting. And that's what happens because when you're using three modalities, you're watching the film, you're listening to the film, and you start getting feelings about, or you're happy or whatever, it means you are under hypnosis. Using three modalities or more, you're hypnotized. And how do you look when you watch a film? Watch this. This is what you look like, with dribble hanging out of your mouth. And why do we do this? Because we love a good film. I love a good film. But when you're under hypnosis, the challenge is that any negative programming, and that's what we're talking about, programming throughout our lives, and it's not the program that you wanted to put in there to become wealthy, it's everybody else's program. It's the media's program, the school's program, your friend's program, all of these type of things. And there was this great program in the 80s called Dallas. I don't know whether you remember Dallas, but you remember this? Dun, 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 dun. You could probably hum that tune. And we had Pamela, she was lovely, and we had Bobby, girls, you love Bobby, and then we had the man we love to hate, J.R. Ewing. And we watched that in the 80s, and what we did is we got this impression on how wealthy people actually are. This is the wealthy people. Wealthy people are, well, what was J.R.? He was a drunk. So wealthy people are drunks, but not only that, wealthy people are, what else was J.R.? Well, he was also unfaithful to his wife. So now, they're drunks, they're leches, they're unfaithful, they're untrustworthy. And then what else do we have? In business, was he honest? Was he honest? You're joking. He was the most manipulative, self-centered type of guy you could possibly get. So now we have, he's a drunk, he's unfaithful, he can't be trusted, and they're bad, evil business people. So this is the type of programming that we saw on a weekly basis. And we loved it. In other words, we used our emotions. We were like, come on, I wonder what he's going to do this time. And therefore we amplify that programming. Because if you're just looking at something like this and you don't really care about it, it's not going to negatively affect you. But if you're like, yeah, this is brilliant, I really love this, and you're using those emotions, that amplifies the programming. Now you can use this for good, and I'll come on to how we do that in a moment, but that's an example of how terrible certain programs are for you. And that's why you've really got to watch out about these programs. Another program is religion. I'm not even going to go there, but some religions immediately tell you, well, you're not even worthy. You know, you'll never become this, you'll never become that, because, you know, we have the fear of God drummed into us. I've got to tell you that the fear of anything is not a good place to start or to make decisions about your finances. So, now that we know why beliefs are so important and we know where they came from, what can we do about it? Well, there is a 5-step process that we can go through, which will happily take you through at some stage. But right now, I just want to tell you we need to admit that maybe we're not perfect. That's number one. We need to admit that we're not perfect. We need to admit that we can make some changes. And then once we get rid of that belief, and there's certain ways we could do this. What we do is we use NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and NAC, Neuro-Associative Conditioning, and we use these type of techniques. And then once those are gone, we need to replace them with a new belief, and we'll show you how to do that as well. And then you need to condition them. In other words, throughout the years of programming, you need to reprogram your mind again and again and again until it sticks. Looking forward to seeing you in step number 2. This was step number 1 of your wealth workout.